Joao Pedro could change the way Enzo Maresca's Chelsea look this season. So in today's video, I'll be explaining how Joao Pedro will affect Chelsea's build-up patterns, the key trait that many people aren't discussing when it comes to Joao Pedro's addition, and why his positional versatility is so important. So, Joao Pedro, how is he going to fit in at Chelsea? Whereabouts in any of these roles? You look at these attacking roles that we're talking about here. Where will Joao Pedro fit into this? In today's video, we're going to sort of talk about it, those sort of key points at the start that I've mentioned, how he can really impact this Chelsea team and how it can help Maresca's sort of tactical evolution to take that step forward. And to do that, we're going to be using a bit of a PowerPoint that we've got. So, this is Joao Pedro's average heat map from last season. As you can see, very much in that left half space, depending whether he started as a striker, which he did at times. Sometimes he started as that number 10, drifting into that left-hand half space. And he only started twice off the left this season. But last season under De Zerbi, when his heat map looked very similar to this, he started 8 times off the left, scoring 6 goals in those games. So it shows that he's able to do that left-wing number 10 hybrid role, which is something we're going to be talking about quite heavily in this video today, because I do think it's predominantly what we're going to see from Joao Pedro. Whether he starts as the striker, the 10, or the left winger, the idea will usually be to get him into these zones. So it's all going to be the analysis of how we can sort of use Joao Pedro's skill set in these zones and why he makes sense as a profile in that sense. So firstly, let's just talk about his carrying really quick, because I think it's such a key sort of factor when it comes to what Chelsea wanted in this role. You think of Morgan Rogers, you think of Joao Pedro, you think of even Matheus Cunha. There was links at one point. This versatile attacker, I think one of the key traits, it could us as well, is to have that ability to carry the ball centrally. I think that's a huge part of what teams want to add to their squads this summer. You look at the leg extension of Joao Pedro. He is a little bit more of a long-legged carrier. He can carry through the centre because he's got the frame to also protect the ball. Again, another example here of him sort of striding forward. He's got those strong, longer legs. He's good at protecting the ball with his frame. And he either buys fouls, which I think I've got somewhere here. His ability to buy fouls. Should be somewhere here. 2.66 fouls drawn per game in the 23-24 season, with 2.15 in the 24-25 season. So very good at driving centrally to either win the foul or escape and sort of hit teams on the break. Like I say, that central carrying is key. So a few other carrying stats to sort of go through. 3.42 progressive carries per 90 in the 23-24 season. 3.04 in the 24-25 season. So dropped up a little bit there. But again, you've got to think this season, the reason that some of the 23-24 season stats will be a little bit better is because he did play more of that off-the-striker role for De Zerbi. Whereas a lot of the time this season, especially when Welbeck was out injured, for example, he's had to take up that number 9 role. Still dropping into those pockets, but having a little bit less to sort of play off of around in that attacking area in terms of like a focal point, which again, if you think about Liam Delap, that's how that could work at Chelsea. So 2.04 carries into penalty area per 90, 23-24, down again to 1.38 carries into the 24-25 season. 34 total carries per 90 in the 23-24 season, down to 28.4 this season, just gone. A few key ones as well here. 0.4 of his shot creating actions were coming from take-ons last season, from the 23-24 season, sorry, was 0.36 from shots. That is significantly dropped off to 0.14 shot creating actions for take-ons per 90, and 0.09 shot creating actions from shots in the 23-24 season. So again, a big drop-off in those stats. But what you got to think of is, will we be using him in a little bit more of a way that De Zerbi used him in 23-24? There was actually a quote that came out today. I'll try and flash it up on screen now. That Maresca spoke directly to De Zerbi in terms of trying to plan for what he's going to do with Joao Pedro and sort of put forward a plan for him. So that's very interesting because, like I said, he used him a little bit more on that left-hand side and in that pocket to sort of bring the ball forward progressively. So that's quite a key factor in my opinion. And then we've already done the fouls drawn. So that's sort of the carrying aspect of his stat-wise. Another key sort of factor, and this can come into carrying, this can come into how he plays in the pocket, which is a lot of what he's going to do, his ability to scan. And he has this little move sort of where he uses the outside of his foot to sort of drive into the space and sort of flick it on, which I'm going to show you in a second. But what he does really well is he's always scanning the back of his shoulder, and he's perfect for playing in this pocket because of his ability to do that. He's very quick to sort of take a picture and a snapshot of what's behind him and then use that information to attack the space that he sees. So this example is, again, you see him sort of scanning to the right, before he then spins off. And this is what I mean. He used the outside of his foot, spin off into this channel. Tielemans is stuck, and he's away. And that's something he does quite often. Again, here, doing it, the scan isn't in this image, but you can see that he's about to take it on the outside of the player here who's on rushing. That's where the space is. He's ready to spin into that space. But then again, something we spoke about earlier with his frame, he's very good at protecting the ball. He's got the longer legs and he can get in front of the ball to protect it and either win a foul or ride the contact and power away into that huge space that you can see in front of him there. Again, this is a big part of where he's going to play. If you look at that pocket, where he's sort of playing in that left pocket here, which if we go back to the tactics board quickly, this is what you see here. This is probably the area that he's going to play in terms of where Palmer played the other day, playing in that sort of left half space, playing on the left, but coming into here is probably what you'll see, which allows him to receive between the lines, drop into here, with Cucurella being that sort of width provider. If we go back to what we saw here, you can see he's scanning, he's on the turn, and he's ready to either sort of, again, he's surveying a picture. Is he going to create something in terms of carrying forward from this position? Is he going to play a pass? Is he going to be able to sort of connect play and just put it out to the winger who can then have a 1v1? Now, again, this in Chelsea scenario would be Cucurella, so it would depend on the dynamics of the team. But this is what I mean with the sort of area that he'll be picking up in that left half space. You can see the shape for Chelsea would be a bit different, but it's those sort of areas that we spoke about at the start with the heat map where he's going to want to be affecting the game. And it's when he drops into here, he's also willing to then spin off and run in behind, which is a key factor of this sort of shadow striker role that I think Chelsea need, especially with someone like Liam Delap. If Liam Delap's going to sort of draw the defenders towards play using that hold-up sort of structure that he's got, will the player that we've got in and around there be willing to then spin off the shoulder and run in behind? And he has that ability. If he's going to drop into these pockets, and teams are going to want to follow him into these pockets because he's so effective on the ball, bringing it out on the half turn, carrying it those sort of long yards. He's a good long distance carrier in that sense. He can eat up the ground with those longer legs. And that is a big factor as to why defenders will follow him in. So then he can spin off and get in behind, which is, as you can see here, what he does, spin off, get in behind. And again, here, this is another example. He dropped into this pocket here, and then he span off. He sees the space because, look, two defenders here for Man City in the middle. He's going to peel off and attack that space in behind, which is something that you want from these players. In terms of, there's a few different reasons as to why I've sort of highlighted this and this positioning, because this is, again, the pocket that Joao Pedro can pick up the ball. Now, this is against City, but as you can see, a lot of men behind the ball. So if you're thinking about how Chelsea are going to set up against low block teams, if Joao Pedro was to play in those games, or he's to be in the team, and this is sort of how you're going to use him in this sort of left half space, you've got these players up on the left that are more advanced than him. You've got Matoma, you've got the fullback as well. So he's one of the deeper players on the pitch. So let's quickly talk about his passing and his defensive stats, because I think they're important. 3.6 progressive passes per 90 in 23-24 to 3.59 this season, so very similar. 1.42 key passes 23-24 to 1.38 key passes 24-25, very similar. 1.67 passes into the penalty area versus 1.66, so again, very similar. The thing that has gone up massively this season is his ability to play those through balls. So last season, or the 23-24 season, was 0.25 through balls per 90. This season was 0.46 through balls per 90. So again, dropping into that pocket and looking to play through and opening that angle to play the pass himself, as you can see here. Using his frame, he's sort of surveying the options that he has, quick shift of the ball, and then it uses that passing angle to get it through and create a chance in that sort of tight space in between the lines. So that's something key against those low blocks, how they're going to set up. Not to say City are a low block, but as you can see, there's a lot of men behind the ball. The other thing that I want to mention, though, about how he's positioned here, as I said, with the fullback further forward, and this is something we spoke about last season with Joao Felix playing this role and Nkunku playing this role, especially against the lower teams like Southampton. This is something we saw on a few occasions. What's so key is that the player in this role is willing to do the hard yards defensively and work hard to win the ball back, because they have to cover the space that's been vacated. Now, in this scenario, if we go back to the tactics board, this is Cucurella. Okay, if Cucurella is pushing high to allow Joao Pedro to come into here, the space that he has to protect is there. And if Cucurella can't get back in time because he's more advanced to make this space here for Joao Pedro, he has to work. Oh, that's not an arrow. he has to work hard to get back into that area, and he has to have a defensive impetus on the game. If we quickly go back to here, and we quickly speak about his defensive stats, 2.73 ball recoveries last in the 23-24 versus 2.72, so again, very, very similar. 1.57 tackles and interceptions in the 23-24 season versus 1.14 tackles and interceptions in the 24-25 season. So those stats don't exactly tell the picture, but he is a much harder working. He's willing to use that sort of athleticism and body frame that Nkunku and Felix don't necessarily use as much. He's willing to use that in a defensive and intense way that I think him and Cucurella could work nicely on that left-hand side in terms of protecting the space on the break, especially against teams that are going to sit a little bit deeper, that see Joao Pedro in these deeper zones with Cucurella more advanced. So that's another key factor that I think a lot of people aren't really touching on, because it's such an important reason as to why I think Felix and Nkunku weren't used as often as maybe Maresca would have liked to utilise them in certain games, because he didn't trust them off the ball. Now, another key aspect, and this is what I was teasing at the start of the video, where I think not enough people are sort of discussing this trait about Joao Pedro, and it's something I've spoke about with the addition of Liam Delap, that not only will Liam Delap offer more box threat himself, and this is something we've been banging on for, we want more box threat. Joao Pedro is around 6 foot to 6'1", a lot of differing sort of heights that he's sort of got online, but he's not small. His aerial stats are 1.6 aerial duels 1 per 90 in the 23-24 season, up to 1.89 this season. In the 23-24 season, he had a 62% aerial success rate, which is very good. Last season it was down to 48.8, but again he was contesting a few more, because he also then won 1.89. So he was losing a few more but contesting a few more. What's key about this addition on top of Liam Delap is that when those balls are coming in from out wide and he's attacking the space from deep, again he's going to use those long legs, he's going to stride into that area, he's going to attack from deep, or he's going to attack from the back post. Either one. He's going to arrive in these areas. And he scored. Just go and look at a few of his goals, because this isn't uncommon. There's 3 or 4 of these exact examples where he attacks from deep, attacks usually the smaller man at the back post. You've got these players in the middle, which Liam Delap would be sort of dragging players away, so that you get this isolated 1v1 in the air at the back post. And it's something that Chelsea will be able to create. Imagine this is, say, Pedro Neto cutting inside to put in that left-footed in-swinger, or Esteval, and you've got Liam Delap sort of attacking that front post, or even the centre, and then you've got Joao Pedro coming in behind him to eat up that space and get on the end of things at the back post. And I think it's something that will add 3 or 4 really important goals against low blocks that we really need to have in our sort of squad composition. And I think that is going completely under the radar when it comes to Joao Pedro and how he can attack that space from that pocket. So keep an eye on that, because like I say, the aerial sort of ability that he gives you, I think, is so key. Let's go back to the tactics board now. We're going to really quickly speak about his shooting as well, because I think this is something that could be key. His ball striking is very good. He had 3.02 shots per night in the 23-24 season. That's down to 1.9 shots in the 24-25 season. In the 23-24 season, his shot accuracy was actually less, but again, he was taking a lot more shots, so that was 32.6% on target. This season, that's up to 35.6%. So again, it's up, but the shot volume's down. And from this, you've got 0.36 non-penalty XG in the 23-24 season, down to 0.23 non-penalty XG per 90 in the 24-25 season. So the important factor from the shooting that I'm trying to take there is, especially if you go back to his sort of time under De Zerbi, he was more willing to sort of just get the ball, get shots off. And again, this is something that Chelsea want to add. So the fact that he's got that and maybe didn't use it as much last season, he was more sort of dropping in to create and link. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have that sort of maverick tendency to just get it out of his feet and get a shot away, especially from range as well. So that's something to keep an eye on with Joao Pedro, and how Maresca could look to utilise that sort of shot volume alongside the likes of Liam Delap and Cole Palmer as well in that middle section. So that is how Joao Pedro could affect Chelsea and how they've sort of played. Tomorrow, we're going to have a video out that is going to discuss how Joao Pedro, how the actual tactic, and we're going to go over how Chelsea played against Benfica and how Joao Pedro will sort of add to that. So watch out for that video coming out tomorrow. But lastly, just to speak about Joao Pedro and his versatility, it's not just that he offers this one new role and a few new attributes that Chelsea sort of needed. Like I said, central carrying, aerial ability, sort of maverick tendencies on the ball. It's not just those that he offers. It's also his intelligence in this role, but also his versatility to play. Yes, he can receive the ball out wide, and we did see it at times for Brighton where he sort of drifts into these wide areas to pick up the ball, usually to then combine and come back inside, but it's something that he does. He can also start as the number 10. So, say Cole Palmer's injured, it gives you the option to go without Cole Palmer, and you can have Enzo pushing up from there, for example, and you can have Joao Pedro, and he's starting as the 10, but he's still becoming that pocket player. But also, let's say you've got Jackson and Delap as your striker options. Let's say one of them gets injured. Let's say Jackson's now out for 2 months. You've now got another striker option available as well. So it's not all on Delap. You think of the Club World Cup, Delap's had to play the last few games, and whenever we've been bringing on a striker, it's been Nkunku coming on, who again, somebody who's probably going to get sold, bringing in someone like Joao Pedro. So having that sort of third option who can cover when players are injured, he can offer a different quality in here, because if he's starting in here, this is another key sort of factor. If he starts in here, he's very good at dropping into these areas to create that sort of space. Again, this wouldn't be Cucurella if he was dropping in as the centre forward. This would be more of an actual winger. But you can create that sort of shape in the middle to then open up this huge space in behind him, and that's something he can do as a false nine. So all of these are very key factors as to why Maresca would like Joao Pedro. Somebody he can move around depending on the game, and he can create different tactical sort of game plans using a profile like Joao Pedro if you need the qualities that he brings you. So it will give you a lot of tactical versatility and a lot of new attributes that the team doesn't have. So that's why it makes a lot of sense for me. Yes, Nkunku and Felix have to be sold now, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense, because Joao Pedro, in my opinion, he's a better fit for the system in terms of defensive ability, out of possession sort of work rate, and athleticism and sort of build. He's more built for the Premier League than a Joao Felix and an Nkunku. But they're all very similar in terms of like those in-between hybrid players. So you need to get rid of the other two now to make sure that this makes more sense. But overall, I like the signing, and I like what it unlocks for Chelsea in the long run. I do like what it unlocks as different options. So let me know your thoughts on Joao Pedro. Don't miss tomorrow's video, because that will go over how exactly he fits into the exact Chelsea system. But today was more so to show what he can offer. And we're going to speak about the system that Maresca played against Benfica in tomorrow's video. So don't miss that. Let me know all your questions, and I'll get back to them in the comments. Drop a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.